The House will come to order. Members will be at their seats. The clerk has opened the roll and you may record your presence. Please rise and give your attention to the House chaplain, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Representative Beeler.
Good morning, friends. Allow me to pray for you. Good morning, Father. Today is one of those days which serves to remind us to never forget those we love. I pray cards, notes, flowers, candy, and other expressions of our appreciation for our loved ones would abound. I want to also thank you for the reminder you sent to us about what real, authentic love looks like. Your word records, I speak with the tongues of men and angels, but do not love. I become as a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant, does not act unbecomingly, does not seek its own. It's not easily provoked. Love does not take into account a wrong suffered, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never fails. Now, Lord, I have to admit that's a pretty tall order. And yet, as tall as it is, maybe, help me to embrace it. And Lord, would you be so kind as to send people into my life which embraces it also? This is one of those decision-making days for our governing body. As debate occurs, might I keep the lesson of love before me. Allow me to be patient and kind even when it's not warranted or expected. And if dissension should arise, keep me from being easily provoked. I love my country today, even though at times it seems to be flowing in a direction I do not agree with or condone. Help me to always rejoice with the truth of which this great nation was founded upon. And always remind me, if you would, love never fails. Help me to be a living example of your real and authentic love. I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Flag, States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Okay, have all members had an opportunity to record their presence? The clerk will close the roll and record the attendance. Speaker recognizes Representative Bourgeon on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Today, I have the distinct honor and privilege to rise before the body to recognize the achievement of some outstanding athletes and coaches at Hayden High School here in Topeka. This past fall, Hayden High School won the 2023 4A Girls State Golf Championship, finishing 37 shots ahead of second place, Wamego. Joining me on the floor today, please raise your hands as I call your name. Hannah Reynoldson, Kylie Johnson, Avery Grunnert, Addison Bear, Lauren Bourgeon, yes, that's my daughter, proud dad today, and Izzy Glozpot. and then coaches, Coach Reynoldson and Coach Duncan. Hayden as a team took home its 6th state championship in golf in school history. Ladies, you achieved the highest honors in high school golf. In addition, Hannah Reynoldson, Lauren Bourgeon, and Izzy Glossbach all earned all Shawnee County first team recognition. Avery Grunnert earned all Shawnee County second team recognition. Lady Wildcats, you had represented yourselves, your families, your school, and the great state of Kansas with distinction in achieving this most outstanding accomplishment. On behalf of the Kansas House of Representatives, I offer a sincere congratulations and extend our very best wishes for this memorable achievement. You make us all proud. Please join me in congratulating and recognizing this outstanding group of athletes and their coaches. I ask that my remarks be spread across the journal.
Without objection, so ordered. Speaker recognizes Representative Melton on a point of personal privilege. Representative Melton on a point of personal privilege.
She's gonna take something. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I would like to recognize the Wyandotte Angels, the founder, Jolinda Poinson, and a few of her angels, Marilyn Poinson, Diane Poinkin, I think I'm saying it wrong, Onson, Melissa Need, Angela McClure, Marilyn McClure, Rocky Mays, Vicky Marquise, Fernando Marquise, and Martin Cervantes Jr. Oh. The Wyandotte Angels was founded on August 31st of 2020 by Jolinda to help people in our community by providing food, diapers, clothing, furniture, and more for people in time of need. Initially, Jolinda had hoped for 2 helpers. Now over 4,000 Wyandotte Angels worldwide help with her mission of serving thousands of people. All with no real funding, people in our community opening their wallets to help and do more. So today, I would like the state to recognize the Wyandotte Angels. With that, Mr. Speaker, I move that my resolution be adopted and my word spread throughout the journal.
Without objection, so ordered.
Oh, I gotta give this to her. You get a picture?
Speaker recognizes Representative Oropeza on a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise before the body to honor Low Riding to Success, an incentive-based program designed to help Wyandotte County youth reimagine their lives through building bikes, mentorship, life skills, and guidance, all the while building their self-worth. This program has been a dream, vision, and a calling for Mr. Cervantes, or Mr. C, as the kids who know him call him, and to help others. Mr. Cervantes himself was given a second chance that has changed the outcome of his life and also created Low Riding to Success to help others reach their potential. Low Riding to Success is a juvenile court-referred after-school incentive program that is about much more than building and repairing bicycles. This club involves teaching and mentoring at-risk teens in Wyandotte County. He teaches life skills, conflict resolution, critical thinking, and problem solving. His goal is to help steer at-risk youth in a positive direction, helping them to graduate from high school or obtain their GED, creating a solid foundation for a successful future. In his years of working with at-risk youth, it is evident to him that they are needed, and that the programs like this is needed more than ever. He has partnered with community organizations, individuals, and businesses in Wyandotte County, including the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, Kansas City, Kansas School Police, Youth Build, Heartland, 180, Full Throttle Fitness, and Metro Fitness. In order to provide a wide range of much-needed services, his program also works closely with the Wyandotte County court system, involving district court judges, community corrections, and state probation officers. He cannot forget that he also relies heavily on the commitment and engagement of parents, families, mentors, therapists, drug counselors, and survivors who understand the power of supporting and believing in our at-risk youth. His program also accepts youth that are not in the criminal justice system but are looking for additional engagement. The youth that attend Low Riding to Success are engaged in giving back to the community in which they reside by working on donated bikes, by repairing them and giving to people in need. They are also encouraged to make their beds every day, which encourages positive actions and feelings. Since the program launched in March of 2023, they have operated at full capacity and had to start a waiting list. Mr. Cervantes has graduated 14 students with many more to come. We pride this program not on just talking about what it needs to be done, but putting our words into actions to create a positive ripple effect for the community. Mr. Cervantes and I are joined today by graduates Edward Cardenas, Antonio Gonzalez, along with current participants in the program, Jose Castaneda, Michael Frost, Eric Diaz, Karina Perez, and Rudy Perez, who is a mentor. Mr. Speaker, I ask that my words be spread across the journal.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thanks for coming. That's all I'm interested in.
Speaker recognizes Representative Christy Williams on a point of personal privilege. And Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, we are glad to recognize 8 exceptional young leaders from our 6 state universities, plus the University of Kansas Medical Center and Washburn University. Each of these leaders were elected by their student bodies to serve as student body president starting last spring through the spring of this year. Along with the role of serving as student body president, these leaders also serve on the Students Advisory Committee, established by the legislature in 1975. And in that role, they represent students before the Kansas Board of Regents. To serve on the advisory committee, statute requires the person to be the highest student executive officer elected by the student body. These student leaders have worked closely with our Kansas Board of Regents to identify common goals and issues that impact students at our universities. offering input, support, and collaboration creates an important connection between our Board of Regents and the students who are most impacted in their decision-making.
Today, we honor the hard work, the bold leadership, and the faithful commitment exemplified by our Kansas student body presidents. So it's our honor now to individually recognize these student body presidents for their efforts and their commitment to their respective universities. First, we have Kansas State University Student Body President and the Chair of the K-Board Advisory Committee, Caleb Stout. If you'll hold your applause until the end, that would be awesome. Next, we have Pittsburgh State University Student Body President and Vice Chair of the K-Board Advisory Committee, Jabin Parnell. Fort Hays State University Student Body President, Ella Burrows. Wichita State University Student Body President, Iris O'Carey. Emporia State University Student Body President, Sophia Dawson. Washburn University Student Body President, Antonio Martinez. Kansas University Student Body President, Turner Seals. And Kansas University Medical Center Student Body President, Mark Faber. You may applaud.
We are extremely proud of these young men and women and their leadership at their respective universities. Please join us in honoring our distinguished Kansas University leaders. We thank you for your leadership and service to our great state, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Mr. Speaker, we ask that our words be spread across the journal.
Without objection, so ordered.
All right. Thank you so much.
Introduction of bills and concurrent resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 2801 by the Committee on Federal and State Affairs, requested by Representative Will Carpenter on behalf of Philip Neer of Jumpstart C-Stores. An act concerning the regulation of consumable material and electronic cigarettes, requiring manufacturers to submit certifications regarding the status of products to the Director of Alcoholic Beverage Control of the Department of Revenue, establishing fines and criminal penalties for violations thereto. House Bill 2802 by Committee on Appropriations, requested by Representative Waymaster on behalf of the Office of the Governor. An act making and concerning appropriations for the fiscal years ending June 30, 2024, June 30, 2025, and June 30, 2026 for state agencies, authorizing certain transfers, capital improvement projects, and fees, imposing certain restrictions and limitations, and directing or authorizing certain receipts, disbursements, procedures, and acts incidental to the foregoing.
House Bill 2792 is withdrawn from the Committee on Appropriations and referred to the Committee on Health and Human Services. House Bill 2791 is withdrawn from Committee on Appropriations and referred to Committee on Health and Human Services. House Bill 2381 is withdrawn from the Committee on Appropriations and referred to Committee on Judiciary. House Bill 2739 is withdrawn from Committee on Financial Institutions and Pensions and referred to Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 2760 appears on the consent calendar for the first day. Is there objection? Seeing none, it will remain on the consent calendar for the second day. House Bill 2632 appears on the consent calendar for the third day. Is there objection? Seeing none, it will be advanced to final action. Final action on bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 2632 by the Committee on Federal and State Affairs, an act concerning the Law Enforcement Memorial Advisory Committee, expanding the membership thereof.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2632. The clerk will open the roll, and you may record your vote. Has every member had an opportunity to record their vote? Has every member had an opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Ballard votes aye. Representative Melton votes aye. Any further changes of vote? Seeing none. Representative Roth? Representative Roth votes aye. Any further changes of vote? Seeing none. 111 having voted in favor and 0 against the passage of House Bill 2632, the same having received a constitutional majority. The bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action on bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 2168 by the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources, an act concerning agriculture relating to the industrial hemp, reducing maximum license and registration fee amounts to $500.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2168. The clerk will open the roll, and you may record your vote. Has every member had an opportunity to record their vote? Clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? 105 voting in favor and 6 against the passage of House Bill 2168, the same having received a constitutional majority. The bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action on bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 2477 by Representative Rajas, an act concerning agriculture relating to environmental remediation, increasing the maximum reimbursement from the Kansas Agricultural Remediation Fund from $200,000 to $300,000 for an eligible person, and from $400,000 to $600,000 when both a buyer and a seller, or a lessee and a lessor, are responsible for remediation, increasing the amount available to the Kansas Agricultural Remediation Board for administrative overhead expenses from $150,000 to $175,000.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2477. The clerk will open the roll, and you may record your vote. Has every member had an opportunity to vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Ellis votes aye. Representative Probst votes aye. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? 110 having voted in favor and 1 against the passage of House Bill 2477, the same having received a constitutional majority. The bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action on bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 2525 by the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources. An act concerning the Department of Health and Environment relating to fees established for the regulation of wastewater treatment facilities, water wells, and underground injection control wells, providing for additional resources of revenue for the Water Program Management Fund, authorizing the Secretary of Health and Environment to establish additional fees for the regulation of underground injection control wells.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2525. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had an opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to change his or her vote? No, excuse me. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Penn. Representative Beeler votes no. Okay. Okay. Under 94, no. Representative Estes votes no. Any further change of vote? Representative Bergquist votes no. Representative Stewart votes no. Representative Delperdang votes no. Representative Penn votes no. Representative Vaughn votes no. Representative Corbett votes no. Any further changes? 87 having voting in favor, 24 against. The passage of House Bill 2525, the same having received a constitutional majority, the bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Final action on bills and concurrent resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 2583 by Representative Hawkins and Owens, an act concerning crimes, punishment, and criminal procedure relating to crimes against the public morals, increasing the criminal penalty for harming or killing certain dogs and horses, requiring restitution for such crime to include veterinary medical treatment, funeral and burial expenses, and replacement of such animal.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2583. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has everybody, has all members had an opportunity to record their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? 106, nope. Representative Hoagland votes aye. Any further changes of vote? 107 voting in favor, 4 against. Passage of House Bill 2583, the same having received a constitutional majority. The bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Speaker recognizes Majority Leader Croft for a motion to resolve into the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the purpose of considering those items under the heading of general orders.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Motion passes. The Speaker appoints Representative Howerton to chair the Committee of the Whole.
Good morning, body. On this Valentine's Day, may I just say I'm honored and privileged to serve with you. So for the first item of business today, we will have HB 2588. For the purpose of carrying HB 2588, the chair recognizes Representative Schreiber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2588 came out of the House Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications Committee. It was a consensus bill amongst the conferees, which included solar installers, the Evergy, and so it brought everybody together through quite a long process to come up with this bill. And basically what it does, it changes the Net Metering and Easy Connection Act, which was passed in 2009. Originally, it was updated again in 2014. And then we need to update it again as more solar systems are primarily rooftop solar systems are being put on in the state, and raise the capacity limits that existed in the existing law right now. So right now there's a 1% of peak demand cap on the total capacity of rooftop solar in the state. What this bill does is increases that to 2% beginning after July 1 of this year. The next year it goes up to 3%, then the following year 4%, and finally 5%. And it will be stopped there, and then they'll evaluate and see if there's a need that they can take on more rooftop solar. It also makes some adjustments when time of use rates become more prevalent in the state. It provides a way to how to calculate how net metering is charged when a customer has net or time of use rates. And probably most importantly, it emphasizes what's required for protective measures for the utility personnel that are working on a nearby distribution line when there's an interconnected system with a distributed source such as a rooftop solar. It also has a way to measure how much is being exported out and in comparison to what the size is for that existing building. There were no committee amendments. So, Madam Chair, I'll stand for questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? Chair recognizes Representative Hobson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The carrier of the bill did an excellent job in explaining the bill. I concur with everything that has been said. I want to use this opportunity to thank the chair of our committee and also the vice chair for their leadership on it. With that, I concur and actually ask for an affirmative vote on HB 2588. Thank you very much.
Is there further discussion? The chair recognizes Representative Delperdang.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to follow up with what the previous speaker and the carrier said. I want everybody to know a lot of people worked really hard on this bill over the course of this past year. It was something I didn't know if we could get through. We all came to the table. My hat is off to Evergy. I don't know if they're listening up there or not, but they really stepped up to the plate, and I appreciate it. We worked out the stair stepping up in the amount of rooftop that can be fed back into the grid based on their ability to build out the needs and the infrastructure. There was some concerns that were brought up in the committee concerning consumer protection. And I committed in the committee that we will take a look at that. I said this is not the bill or the time to put it in, but there is a statute out there, 50-6, 121 through 138, that gets into the Roofing Act, and I think that's where it belongs. And we will be working on that one as time goes on. But otherwise, I just wanted to thank everybody that did come up and help on this bill. It is truly appreciated. So I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
For further discussion, Representative Carmichael.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also rise in support of HB 2588. Our chairman has done outstanding work with this legislation. If you would have told me 6 months ago that we could have come to this resolution, I would have said that you are a fool. But the fact of the matter is, somehow, he got the parties on the same page. And in particular, I want to express my appreciation to the chair for his remarks of just a few moments ago. The one thing that we didn't have time to get accomplished was some very appropriate consumer protection. And just to give you an example of what we're talking about, there was a lead article in Time magazine some weeks ago that had nothing to do with Taylor Swift, but that particular article discussed the phenomenon of fly-by-night solar salespeople who are sucking people into contracts and not delivering, or who are providing hardware that is inappropriate, or that are doing installations that are unworkmanlike, or they're just taking the money and never showing up again and financing the entire arrangement through a unknown lender. It's important that we deal with that. And at least for the time being, I'm told that the Attorney General's office thinks they can control this problem through the Door-to-Door Sales Act. I think the problem is, in fact, more complex than that. And I appreciate the chairman's recognition that it's something that all of us need to make sure that we deal with. And so I don't want to take more of your time here today, but please don't let this slip out of your mind if you should be so fortunate as to come back next year to this chamber, because there is still yet work to do. And with that, Mr. Chair, I urge an affirmative vote on HB 2588. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, Representative Schreiber, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports HB 2588 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Schreiber to report HB 2588 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. The next item of business is consideration of HB 2561. For the purpose of carrying HB 2561, the chair recognizes Representative Smoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. HB 2561 passed favorably out of committee without amendment. This bill was brought to us by the credit unions. What it does is it brings locally owned Kansas credit unions up to date and in line with the larger regional and nationally owned credit unions. It allows Kansas credit unions to work across state lines, creates a pathway to administer civil penalties for unsafe and unsecure practices, and enters into informal agreements with other credit unions in order to address such concerns. It removes the duplicate document requirement due to electronic filings. It cleans up the process of suspension appeals and credit union to credit union mergers. There were no opponents on this bill, there were no neutrals, and there was no fiscal effect to report, as it would depend upon the revenue generated by the number of previously mentioned civil penalties. With that, I will stand for questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Sawyer.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I just rise in support of the bill. This is modernization of our credit union laws, and as the carrier of their bill said, there's no opposition, so I'd urge the body to support the bill.
Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, Representative Smoy, you may close.
I move that when the committee rises to report, it reports HB 2561 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Smoy to report HB 2561 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. The next item of business is HB 2499. For the purpose of carrying HB 2499, the chair recognizes Representative Essex.
Good morning. HB 2499 would prohibit the use of a mobile telephone while driving by drivers under the age of 18 and for all drivers while driving in construction zones with workers present or in school zones during hours of reduced speed enforcement. The prohibitions would be added to the Uniform Act regulating traffic on highways. The bill would add a $60 fine for violation of these provisions to the Uniform Fine Schedule for traffic infraction violations, but only warnings will be issued until July 1st of 2025. I stand for questions.
Is there discussion? The chair recognizes Representative Corbett. Okay, we're going to come back to Representative Corbett. Representative Ballard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I stand in support of HB 2499. We had a healthy discussion in our committee about this, and I would simply say keep in mind that at school stops, that's extremely important because that's precious cargo, if you want to call it. And I think sometimes we get in a hurry and you get to that sign and you have to remember you need to slow down. Or if the bus has stopped and people want to go around it, you don't know if a child is crossing the street. So I think that's important. And of course, those people that are making their living correcting our streets often are in harm's way as well. Those are the only two areas that this really addresses: workplace and school areas. And I would hope you would vote for it because it's the safety. And I often say to myself, it could be somebody you know, somebody you don't know, but somebody you love. So with that, I would ask that you please vote for 2499. Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Carr.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I could have the bringer of the bill stand for a question, please. With respect to using a handheld device for navigation, my concern is, for instance, I have a trucking company. In a big truck, it's certainly not easy to just pull over. And it is equally difficult to find somewhere to navigate in the event that you wind up in a construction zone. How is the determination made as to whether or not you're actually talking on the phone, or is it using a handheld device for navigation as well?
Great question. This is specific to having the device in your hand. So if it is attached to your car or you have a navigation system in your truck, this does not apply to that. It's with the phone actually in your hand and you're messing with the phone. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Corbett. We will stand at ease for a minute. For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Howe.
Madam Chair, would the carrier of the bill please stand for a question? I apologize for not asking earlier, but does this supersede local ordinance that may already be on the books?
Local law enforcement, is that your question?
Correct. Like if a municipality already has on the books some prohibitions about driving while using a cell phone, does this supersede a local ordinance?
That's a good question. I know I talked with our municipal, local police. They don't have anything on the books. I do not know of many that have something like this specifically city by city. This is just a uniform state statute that would apply to everyone.
Okay, thank you. I would just be curious if there's a little bit more information about how it would affect local control on some of these things, but thank you.
Okay. Let me confer with.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 points. A question came up in our caucus whether this is a moving violation. It is not. As to the question that was just asked, I have some familiarity with, at least in Topeka, this would not preempt the Topeka City Ordinance because it's different. It relates specifically to utilizing your cell phone. This talks about, it has different language. It would not preempt the city ordinance, which, by the way, is much harder to enforce than this language because the officer citing the person violating it has to have a degree of proof they were actually texting. And that's what the prohibition is in Topeka, is it's against texting. It's not against using your cell phone. And the typical defense that I would see when people who were charged with this would come into my court, they would say, I wasn't texting, I was phoning, and involves a much more complicated level of proof. I will rise in support of this language. I think it's much easier to enforce the way it is written. You don't have to go through that extra degree of proof as to what the device was being used for. It's just if you're holding it, they got you, which, by the way, they should. This is absolutely something we are behind the times on. There was an article that we got just today from NCSL where Colorado is moving forward, as are so many states across this country, because of the dangers involved we just, as a culture, as a society, we need to move ahead and understand that while it's convenient, it is extremely dangerous, particularly on the limited circumstances covered by this bill. Thank you.
Further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Carlin.
Just thank you, Madam Chair. Just for the information of the body, Manhattan does have an ordinance about using your cell phone while driving, and there are signs all over our city that says no use of handheld device while driving. So I'm not sure. You're saying that a representative said that it does. Pardon me? The state only has a texting law. Our ordinance prohibits the use of handheld device while driving in any form. Thank you, Madam Chair.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Speaker Hawkins.
I actually would support a measure that's a whole lot stronger than this. I just wanted to share, probably most of you know that back on December 4th, I had a surgery on my shoulder, on my rotator cuff, and that stemmed from an accident on August the 23rd on the turnpike going home from Topeka, August 31st going home from Topeka. And on that day, I was, as many of you know, I don't drive the speed limit. I usually am a little bit under the speed limit. And I was that day too. I was driving 70, 71 mile an hour. And I was rear-ended by a guy going probably well over 100 mile an hour. It totaled out my pickup. And you all know my pickup. It was a good pickup, but it's gone now. And I got a new one. And so for this guy to hit me going that fast, he had to have been doing more than texting. I'm sure he wasn't just texting. I would imagine he was probably watching a movie or something like that on his phone, because I hear people do that. I couldn't believe it when I heard that, but it's also something that's hard to, as the minority leader said, it's hard to determine exactly what people are doing, because number one, nobody's in there, and unless you're going to seize the phone and try to figure it out, which most law enforcement is not going to do, it's really hard to know whether they're texting, but it is certainly distracted driving, I would say. So to me, I think this is a reasonable bill to at least advance solving some of that problem. Can you guys hear? Kind of, to me, it didn't sound like things were coming through there very well. So I do believe we should do this. This bill's not my bill in any manner, but I certainly think that we could be even stronger than this, but I want to support this bill and make sure we do something. So thank you for listening. Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are a couple of comments made about law enforcement and whether or not there'd be local control, if this superseded local, et cetera. There are many laws on the books that municipalities adopt language from. Normally, if you're if you witness a crime that applies to, or a violation that applies to one of these ordinances, the municipal law enforcement can write for the code. It's going to be, that's the way they will do it, to take care of it in city court. Now, if it's a highway patrolman or a county sheriff that happens to be in your municipality, they may write it under the state statute. So that's how that would interact. As a law enforcement officer, I'm going to tell you, I witness all the time strange things going on out there. You do too on the highways and roads, right? And you think, wow, are they even paying attention? The truth of the matter is, it is often the phone. And you see that when you pull up next to them, right? You can see they're on their phone. The problem as a law enforcement officer, I can't prove that what they're doing on their phone is actually texting. So then do I have the ability to pull them over and say, I believe you were texting? No, I can't do that normally. But the fact matter is, it doesn't matter if you're texting.
In fact, if you're watching a video while you're going down the highway, that can be very distracting. These are the kind of things that cause the accidents. Certainly, I'm in support of this. Long story short, I support this bill. Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Corbett.
Thank you, colleagues. I know we've accomplished quite a bit this year. All your constituents should be proud of you. So the bill is fine, but my amendment says this, striking the $60 to $10 and no court cost. They get the message, but you know, times are tough and you don't want anybody causing any trouble. You could make this thing 1,000, but if you get hit, you get hit. That's life. But there's no use catching a mom or somebody that's just having just stuff happens. So my amendment just says that, striking the 60, inserting $10, no court cost. That's as simple as it is.
The amendment appears short. The clerk will read.
On page 7 in line 30 by striking $60 and inserting $10.
The chair recognizes Speaker Hawkins.
You know, on this amendment, going from 60 to 10, you might as well not have anything. Anybody can pay a $10 fee. That doesn't do anything, so I'm going to oppose it, and I hope you will too. Thank you.
For further discussion on the amendment, the chair recognizes Representative Delperdang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I sit on the committee where we ran this bill through, and you can review back my comments from during the committee. If anything, I think this bill is a little bit light. I'm concerned that it's only to 18. I wish it was 21, but I went along with what the bill was on that. I wish it had actually a higher fine, because if it's a $10 fine like the amendment, it ain't worth the police's time or to law enforcement to even mess with it. It needs to have some teeth into it. I really wish it was twice the $60. It needs to be something where we can get this stopped. I used to ride motorcycles. I truly enjoyed it. I gave it up just because you get out there in the road and there's so many people texting and using their phones, and they're in your lane and out of your lane. And you know, you look at it, and if one of them hits you, you'd be down on the road probably bleeding out while they say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or they didn't even notice and they drive on. So I'm definitely against this amendment. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment, the chair recognizes Representative Melton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I strongly oppose the amendment. During committee, I also opposed the $60, thinking it wasn't enough. I'm not a fan of traffic stops. I know they're necessary, but for $60, is it really worth it? And I just strongly oppose it.
For further discussion on the amendment, the chair recognizes Representative Essex.
I will also be opposing this amendment just because $60 it's reasonable, but not over the top, but it's enough to get their attention. And this is a serious problem. How many times have we looked over at the car next to us who can't stay in their lane, and what is usually the culprit? Something's in their hand, usually their phone. So I will also be opposing this amendment.
Is there any other member that wishes to speak to the amendment? Representative Carr. You're recognized.
Test, test. Perfect. Could the bringer of the amendment stand for a question, please? Would you happen to know, does this require a court appearance, or is it something that you can simply mail in?
I believe, I didn't get that put in, so there would be a court appearance if need be, I guess. This just reduces the fine. I don't know about the court appearance. No court appearance, no court appearance.
Thank you. I would support the amendment if it required a court appearance. I do take issue with the number of people that feel like a $60 fine is nothing. $60 is the difference between being able to feed your family at times and not. However, if there is no court appearance, because it's the inconvenience of it that matters more for those individuals that feel like $60 isn't enough money. It would be the inconvenience of having to go to court because of that. But if there is no required court appearance, then I wouldn't stand in support of the amendment. Thank you.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Chuck Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like the bill. I think it's good. I think it's something we ought to enforce. Can I speak to the carrier of the amendment, please? Representative? Do you have any idea what the cost or what the fine is for not wearing a seatbelt?
It's about the same thing, I think.
It's about the same thing.
This is kind of patterned off after that. It sends a message, but it doesn't break your family's bank.
Yeah, not wearing a seatbelt, it sends a message. It's not a big fine, but it sends a message, and we also should wear a seatbelt. So I do understand the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there further discussion on the amendment? No further, if there's no further discussion, Representative Corbett, you may close.
Sorry to cause so much trouble on Valentine's Day. But all this basically does is the House wants to send a message of what is wrong. You can still do that, and you're not going to change people's behavior. Stuff just happens. This kind of sends the message, and it might give them a wake up. So I think $10 makes it a lot easier for the families in my district. Thanks. Was on my amendment.
You've heard the motion by Representative Corbett to amend. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The nays appear to have it. The nays do have it. Motion fails. Back on the bill. Is there further discussion on the bill? Seeing no further discussion, Representative Essex, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports HB 2499 favorably for passage.
You have heard the motion by Representative Essex to report HB 2499 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. This concludes our general orders. The chair recognizes the majority leader.
Madam Chair, I move we rise and report.
You've heard the motion to rise and report. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
The clerk will read the committee report.
Mr. Speaker, your committee of the whole recommends that House Bills 2588, 2561, and 2499 be passed.
The Speaker recognizes Representative Howerton to adopt the Committee of the Whole report.
Mr. Speaker, I move the adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion to adopt the committee report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Committee report is adopted. Reports of standing committee, the clerk will read.
Committee on Commerce, Labor, and Economic Development recommends House Bill 2450 be amended by substituting with a new bill to be designated as substitute to House Bill number 2450 as follows. An act concerning sales taxation relating to economic development, providing a sales tax exemption for the construction or remodeling of a qualified data center in Kansas, the purchase of data center equipment and eligible data center costs, electricity, and certain labor costs to qualified firms that make a minimum investment of at least $600 million and meet new Kansas jobs and other requirements. The Committee on Commerce, Labor, and Economic Development recommends House Bill 2483 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Committee on Health and Human Services recommends House Bill 2484 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Committee on Insurance recommends House Bill 2533 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Committee on Elections recommends House Bill 2603 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Education recommends House Bill 2613 be passed. Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice recommends House Bill 2665 be passed. Committee on Corrections and Juvenile Justice recommends House Bill 2666 be passed. Committee on Health and Human Services recommends House Bill 2746 be passed. Committee on Health and Human Services recommends House Bill 2750 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Committee on Veterans and Military recommends House Bill 2758 be amended and the bill be passed as amended.
Representative Cindy Howerton will replace Representative Laura Williams on the House Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications on February 15th. This appointment will expire at the end of the day on February 15th. Representative Nikki McDonald replaces Representative Rishu on the House Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee on Wednesday, February 14th. Representative Cindy Neighbor replaces Representative Lindsey Vaughn on the House Health and Human Services Committee on Wednesday, February 14th and Thursday, February 15th. Representative Allison Hoagland replaces Representative Tobias Slingensiepen on the House Utilities Committee on Thursday, February 15th. Representative Valdenia Nguyen replaces Representative Tobias Slingensiepen on the House Corrections Committee on Wednesday, February 14th and Thursday, February 15th. Representative Vic Miller replaces Representative Lindsey Vaughn on the House Judiciary Committee on Wednesday, February 14th. Are there announcements? Speaker recognizes Representative Stogsdill.
Democrats will have agenda tomorrow morning, 8:30, 152 South. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker recognizes Representative Howe.
Because it's Higher Education Day, there's over 100 of students from Kansas universities here at the Capitol today, and they are hosting a luncheon down on the first floor north from 12 to 1. So come and grab a sandwich with a student and have a good discussion about higher ed. Thank you.
Speaker recognizes Representative Kincannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Child Welfare and Foster Care Committee will not be meeting today. We will meet tomorrow, which is different for us, but we'll meet at 1:30 tomorrow afternoon, and I'm going to give you the bills that we're just going to work bills. So I'll give you the 4 bills: 2629, 2628, 2581, and 2552. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker recognizes Representative Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I'd like to remind you that one death by suicide or substance misuse is one too many. The suicide death rate in Kansas now surpasses the national average, and substance abuse
overdoses, particularly opioid and by fentanyl poisoning, are rising. Today's suicide and substance misuse advocates from Kansas Prevention Collaborative Coalitions and organizations statewide are visiting our state capitol. They're here to support laws and policies related to effective suicide and substance misuse prevention. They'll be visiting your offices this afternoon. I invite you to visit them on the first floor south wing and on the second floor rotunda, and join them and me in supporting suicide and substance misuse prevention as priorities in 2024, because one lost life stolen from us is one too many. Thank you.
Speaker recognizes Representative Black.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Rural Caucus will be meeting shortly after we get done here. The lunch is sponsored, and we'll hear from the Kansas Electric Cooperatives in room 152 South. See you there.
Speaker recognizes Representative Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I've got something of immense international importance to let everybody know. Yesterday, my hometown, Liberal, Kansas, won the International Pancake Day race. And even more importantly, we set 2 Guinness Book of World Records yesterday. And I know you're waiting to hear what those were. One of them is the highest pancake flip ever, 32 feet. And the other one is the longest line of pancakes ever, somewhere I think around 956 feet. So anyway, I just want to give a big shout out to my hometown.
Speaker recognizes Representative Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The legislative prayer breakfast is honored tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock in room 142, to have a previous House Pro Tem Peggy Mass. She's going to be giving us a presentation tomorrow morning. So I hope you can all come at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you. 142.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, Speaker recognizes the Majority Leader for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, more and more we're hearing this, so let's just do this. How about them Chiefs? Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm enjoying is more, we're hearing America's team. I think it's the world's team, but that's just me. Hey, Republicans, we're going to calendar tomorrow morning at 8:30 in the old Supreme Court. A reminder for everybody, we have that challenge out there on the blood drive on the 29th. And then I got one announcement that it's kind of a serious one that I just want you guys to know about. The governor announced this morning on Friday the flags will be flown at half staff for Lance Corporal Donovan Davis, United States Marine Corps, who passed away in a helicopter accident in California. And Friday is going to be the service out in California, but just know when you see the flags at half staff, that's what it's for. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I move the House adjourn until February 15th at 11 a.m.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.